Hey everyone, this is Ben back with you in the model shop. In today's episode, what we're going to do is get a rolling chassis built on the airplane. So we're going to focus on putting together the landing gear and talking about that assembly process and just hitting some of the high points on how well Wingnut Wings pieces fit together with their outstanding engineering that they do. And then also we're going to get the fuselage painted up, and we're going to get the decals put on it. And we're going to go ahead and get an issue with the color paint resolved. Basically, the camouflage is a green and like a purplish, technically mauve color. I don't have mauve, excuse me, and you can't just go get mauve at the model store. At least it's not available in enamel that I'm aware of, so I ended up mixing it, and I ended up using enamel paint. I'm sorry, not enamel, acrylic paint, which you guys know by now I don't like. However, it's Tamiya, and Tamiya sprays really well, and so I'm okay with that because it makes an exception to my little rule. So anyway, not a very long video, but there's some good points covered on it. Let's get to the build. Well, it's time to put the landing gear together. The instructions, let's see here, are real simple. You've got these three main parts. Then of course you got to put the wheels on. There's a whole little order to that, and then they drop in the airplane. And this is just more of that Wingnut Wings stuff that I love with their incredible engineering. Let's go ahead and try and zoom in here and do this on camera so that you can see. We have there's a little nub here on both sides, and on the struts there's the hole. Whoops. And right there's a corresponding little hole. So, well, without any glue, let's just go ahead and stick this together. This one goes over here. So you can see on camera what I'm doing. I'm just sliding that through all the way to the stop. And I'll make sure it sticks in the little hole like so, and then we got to do this one. And again, I don't know if you can hear how tight this is. And that's why you got to make sure certain parts don't have paint on them. So there it is, no glue, just pressed together, and then let's see here. They just stick it in here. Got their little spots on both sides. These are going to require a little bit of glue to keep them in place. There we go. That's it. It's all, that was it. So anyway, I'm going to put a little bit of Tamiya liquid cement in place here on the bottom just to hold that together. I'll pop this off. We'll spray paint it so it's the right color, and then we got to do the wheels. We'll put it together, and then I'll have, dare I say, a rolling chassis that we can work with, because we do need to add a couple of parts here. There is a flare set that goes here. I'll talk about that in a minute. We'll add that. So anyway, great engineering by Wingnut Wings. Good stuff. It's remarkably sturdy. And then I think there might be a little bit of rigging we can do. Maybe if there is, I'll show that, because that's a piece of cake to do as well. All right, let's move on to the next part here. There we go. Landing gear installed. I just glued it up. Yeah, I guess trying to think of what's significant to tell you here other than I followed the instructions and I put it together. Painted up some of the details, put some little highlights on some of the, like if you look at the wheel there, you can see on the nuts and everything, the hub, hit those with aluminum. So on the bottom here, see those 3 holes that go up and down? There's 2 on either side of the middle one. I think that's where our rigging wire connects to the fuselage. And then I know that it runs like down into the corner. Now I only know that because of the pictures that I've looked at in the reference photos. We'll take a peek at those in a second. I also put painted up and put this little bump on to cover the machine gun feed, and then I kind of freaked out a little bit thinking, uh-oh, maybe the machine gun won't fit there, but I just dropped it in, did a quick dry test, and it's fine. Also painted up these flares, which I'm going to put right here when I'm done, ready to glue them up. I did that because originally I had omitted them, but then if we look at the instructions and go back to this page, they do show a set right there, and what I noticed, here we go, this is why. Alright, so this is the picture of the plane we're building, and if you look right there to the left of that guy's hand, there's the flares installed and the bump. Not the same flare detail offered in the kit, that's clearly the box, and I don't, sorry about the reflection there, I don't really know why they didn't include that with the kit. Instructions back here don't really, I mean, these are the 3 choices, they don't show one. I'm kind of irritated about that, but on the other hand, this offers an opportunity to include a little bit of extra color on the side there. I did a quick Google search, and I just went with all red flares. They were painted red. There's probably a little bit too much aluminum on the top, but the idea being the green parts, its fuselage, is a strap that fits on this fuselage, and then those 6 red flares would drop down into the holder, and it'll get mounted there when I glue it in place. Okay, so now that I have essentially a rolling chassis, and I did just glue it up, do need to figure out the rigging. We'll show you that when we get there, and we also need to look at gluing the engine into position. So let's look into that. Alright, engine position. Quick life lesson learned, pro tip for those of you doing this. I had to pop the oil can off that I had previously glued into position right there. It was blocking the engine from dropping into place. I'll pull that out in a second. So, glue the engine in place, then put that in. That's important to note. I just realized I'm not going to do this. I'm going to leave this out. Now that I have a rolling chassis here, I need to put the decals on so I can give this thing a whole low luster clear coat, and then we could finish up putting the windscreen on and then move on with the other stuff. So let's take the engine out, we'll save the oil can, we'll put decals on, and then mount the engine, then mount the machine guns, and then move on with the other stuff. So yeah, that's it for right now. Let's see what else we can get done. And because I got ahead of myself once again, real quick, stuck on the flare rack. Looks cool, drying up. I forgot, there's a mauve pattern that goes on the tail. If you look here in the instructions, sorry guys, I gotta get better at having the pages ready to go, but right there on the tail, O. So I couldn't find O mauve in any kind of enamel color that I like. I did run to my local hobby store and bought this is maroon gloss, and it's kind of close. It's enamel, and you guys know I like enamel, but it does say to make mauve, if you have the Tamiya colors, 2 parts X16 or 1 part X16 and 2 parts XF52. Well, here they are. There's XF52 and there's our 16. I have all the stuff to do this in acrylic, but I don't like acrylic, although this stuff does spray nice. So I think what I'm going to do is mix these two colors up real quick at the ratios that they said to, and maybe do a test paint on like the spare piece I'm not using, and compare it to my enamel mauve that I like. So I think that's going to be the next step here, and then whichever turns out the best, I'll go ahead and apply that to the tail for our color paint on there. So when I come back here, one of those things will be done. Alright, never mind, I'm not even going to bother with this. So here's my mauve purple test sample. Let's just roll over here. As you can see, it matches very, very closely to the picture. The only complaint that I had, you can see my little mess of test tubes here dribbling along, and this is my pro tip to everybody, well, learning thing. Alright, it says mauve gloss, X16 1 part, XF52 2 parts. The XF52 is the flat earth. I started off with 2 parts of this and 1 part of the X16 and ended up with brown. Nothing near mauve. I think, and I had to just add to correct, it's the other way around. 2 parts X16, 1 part X52, and you'll end up with mauve. I mixed it right in the brush. That's what it ends up looking like, and it looks fantastic. So we're going to go with this color ratio. I'm just going to mix this batch up, shoot it on the tail, and yeah, I'll just do the best I can to match it on the wings, which is the only other spot. So let's see if we can get that masked off and taken care of here. Boy, let's call it a wrap for the night. There's our mauve and our green. It's still drying up, but looks a little patchy, but also looks like it's on canvas a little bit here, and the rest of that's obviously on wood. So anyway, I think that looks pretty good, especially in comparison to the instructions. Not too bad. So anyway, we're going to let this dry overnight, and then we'll get some decals on it, and we'll press on from there. So here we go for the evening. I've got our decals on the sides of the fuselage. The next step is simply going to be to paint our little luster clear on. I might need to put a couple more passes of Solvaset on there. Actually, I'm using Microsol to get everything to settle down. A couple comments about the decals. They are outstanding. However, you can see some wrinkles still there. The aft crosses did not come pre-cut. I was a little disappointed about that, so I had to put them on there, figure it out, and just kind of make it work. So those will require a little more effort. The stripe here is actually very good on one hand. It's 3 pieces. This top piece is 1, and then you've got, you know, your piece on the side here and on the other side. It did not, however, come cut out right here for that part. I think that's a step. I had to cut that out myself. But otherwise, I mean, it wraps around. Here you can see the joint. Sorry, not very good job here, but you know, it ends up looking nice. That we'll call it the lion there. That piece is a correction by Wingnut Wings that they included. I was very pleased about that. If we look, here is the original one included, and I think you see from here the light blue on the Lion versus the much darker blue right there on the one that they reissued. So anyway, that's it for tonight, and for this episode I think we're going to call it good for now. Those decals are on the fuselage. The wheels are on and in place. Yeah, they roll. See that? Fancy. And we've got our mauve back here. So like I said, we need to go ahead and get the clear coat put on. But I think this is good enough for now. And the next step is going to be mounting the engine. There's a couple of little other pieces that get put in with that, and then we're going to move on to the wings. And then after the clear's on, we'll do a little of the rigging. There's some parts that go there and the little cross bracing that goes in there. So that'll all be for next time. Alright guys and gals, thank you very much for watching.